this is Mira. I'm here doing a VR to a video by Maureen from Waves of Your Soul. I love her channel, and I was super inspired by this tag idea. It's called One Deck per Arcana. The idea is that you choose a deck for each card in the major arcana. Not that you choose your favorite Fool card and your favorite Magician card and so on. It's that the deck itself represents the energy or spirit or theme of the card. Filmed this once before, but when I got to the editing stage, you mostly heard the air conditioning running in the background because it is right outside this window. It is a cooler day today though, so the AC is not on. Let's go ahead and do this. We're going to start with the Goddess Tarot, and this is representing the Fool. This is actually my first deck ever. I edged it and I also trimmed it because I couldn't stand the white border around it. I thought that was just ugh. There's the back. Let's see if I can get it to focus. So there's the back. The thing about this deck, I did not choose it because it was my first deck. I chose it because each major arcana is a different goddess. So here you see the Hermit. Each goddess has her own story and her own fool's journey, and that's why I chose this deck. There is the Tower. I really like these images. It's been a while since I have pulled out this deck and used it. It's making me want to use it again. But the idea that each of the majors is a goddess who has her own fool's journey is why I am choosing the Goddess Tarot as the Fool. The next card is, of course, the Magician, and this might be an obvious choice, but I chose the Marvel Tarot deck. And of course you have magic people in this deck doing really amazing things. This is a Pip-ish deck, but it isn't really Pips. But each of the characters depicted on these cards have their own story, and they discover their abilities. They discover what they can do. They find out what tools they have, and they become proficient at using those tools. And thus, it really seemed like the perfect card to represent the Magician. So this is the Marvel Tarot deck. The High Priestess is a deck I wish that I saw on TarotTube more often. It is the Kai Tarot Love, and the reason this is the High Priestess deck for me is that it really does require you to draw on your intuition as you look at these cards. Some of them are fairly straightforward. So One of Pentacles, I mean, that seems pretty clear. You've got a Fool. But then there are cards like this, Four of Cups. That is definitely going to require a little bit of intuition for you to look at the card and decide, what does this mean to me? Excuse my dogs in the background. Here you have a hanged man. But what's going on here, and what is that? I love that this deck asks you to consider what do these images mean. They might mean something different to you on a different day with a different reading. And that's part of the beauty of using intuition. This Kai Tarot Love is my High Priestess deck. For my Empress, I am choosing the Starseeker Tarot. This is the pocket version. I do have the full-size version as well, but wasn't sure where it was. So it'll turn up. I forgot I haven't been doing a great job showing all of these backs and so on. The reason I chose this deck as my Empress is because of how nourishing it is. My battery died. Okay, this deck got me through the pandemic. It actually marked my return to tarot after a very long period of time. This was my second ever tarot deck. And I gotta say, don't sleep on the guidebook. With the guidebook, even the cards that people find most difficult will leave you feeling a positive message. And I just think that's so beautiful and nurturing. So that is why Starseeker Tarot deck is my Empress. Now, the Emperor, I am choosing the Tarot Emblemata. Because it is very, very ordered. We have the Latin, we have the translation, and we have the image, and of course, well, the emblem. Let's call it what it is. And then we have the name of the card. The emblems are from the 1600s, and that gives it a very traditional feel, which also works with the Emperor. Not a lot of female energy in this deck. And that is why I do love this death card. So that is why the Tarot Emblemata is my Emperor deck. And now for the Hierophant, the Abyssal Tarot. This is a beautiful deck, and the thing that makes it the Hierophant for me is these images were captured underwater, and some of them, as you can see, are very blurry. Some of them, you can't really see the faces. When I look at these images, I really see something that is greater than what is actually there. How to explain this? What I see in the pictures isn't just a picture of someone taken underwater. I see something ethereal and mystical, and like, look at this High Priestess. Like, it's almost like she's a transformed being there. And that's what makes this deck the Hierophant for me. This is the Abyssal Tarot. I have a rather unique choice for the Lover's card. It is the Wandering Spirit Tarot. And it was the very first card I thought of when it comes to the Lovers, because it pictures two figures throughout the deck. Look at those gorgeous backs. Two figures. Oh, and there's the Lovers right on top. Okay. That's a sign. So it features two figures throughout the deck, and you almost see their journey in these cards. Maureen asked how people use this deck, and this is a very, very chatty deck in my collection, and it really likes me to use it in readings for others. It does work for deeper questions and questions about grief, but it works really well for other readings as well, and it is always chosen by somebody in the group. This is my Lover's deck, and it is the Wandering Spirit Tarot. The next deck is the Chariot, and this is my Mirror Tarot, which is not to be confused with my name. The Chariot is about speed and action and moving forward, sticking to your purpose. These images really work well for that. Here's the side of the deck. The back of the deck. Let's see if I can get in there. There we go. It's not reversible, but that's okay. The cards are a bit bigger than standard. When I do readings with this deck, multiple cards will often jump out at once, which I think is a very Chariot thing to do. I love the imagery. It's so different from anything else in my collection. So this is my Chariot deck, and it is the Mirror Tarot. For strength, I chose Our Tarot. And I'm just going to say up front, I hate the cardstock, and the deck is too small. And the back doesn't really fit the style of the fronts. But let's move on from that. I had to get it out of the way because otherwise it would come up as I'm talking about this. That's such a pretty Queen of Cups. Anyway, each card features a different woman who has overcome struggles and achieved things in their lives. They have often achieved those things through their inner strength and sometimes their outer strength. The women on these cards represent many different kinds of strength. And thus, this is why Our Tarot is the strength card. And I still wish it was on better cardstock and was even just a little bit bigger. Like, come on now. The Hermit is Remembering the Sweet Fool Tarot. These cards are unique. Once again, really unlike anything. Okay, the Hermit's on top. All right. Somebody's trying to tell me something. When I look at these cards, it takes me to a world that is unlike anything else I've seen. It's unlike my world, for instance. For that reason, it instantly transports me into the energy of the Hermit, which is about getting away from your regular routine and having that time that you need for internal reflection. These cards are just beautiful. I can't get over them. Love them so much. And thus, remembering the Sweet Fool Tarot is my Hermit deck. I struggled mightily to come up with the Wheel of Fortune deck, but eventually I settled on the Twilight of the Gods Tarot, the Delphic Maxim. I'm never going to remember the full name. It is both a tarot deck and an oracle deck in one. The reason it is the wheel is that myths are the way in which the stories are told, and you often see depicted in the cards the turning points for these myths, which seems very apropos for the Wheel of Fortune. Also, because you're seeing myths from different cultures, different times, you get a sense of passing time. It's got really beautiful artwork, but I love the myths that underlay it and the sense of time passing. So that is why the Twilight of the Gods Tarot is my Wheel of Fortune. My Justice Tarot, I might have a difficult time explaining. I chose the Hayworth Tarot. And the reason why is this. The deck appears to be set in some kind of apocalyptic era where some things happened and I don't exactly know what. My understanding is that this is based on a TV series. I haven't watched the series, but I was very drawn in by the images. And when I look at them, I just feel like some shit happened here, and now you're seeing the consequences. I don't know if that explains it very well at all. Here we go. We got some pentacles here. If you're going to have some holes, you never know what may happen. You might have green stuff growing out of them. Let's see if I can, there we go. Or you might sort of fall into them. Yikes. And if you have swords, I mean, swords can be great, but they can also stab you through the face. And again, this is like, you think of the sun as a really great thing, but maybe it's not so great. I don't know if I'm explaining this well at all, but every time I reach for this deck or pull it out, I feel like you're seeing consequences turned up to 10 with this deck. And that is why the Hayworth Tarot is my Justice deck. My Hanged One is the Joker deck. I got this through Kickstarter. Oops. No gilding, but I really enjoy the images, and the images make me think. Like, I cannot call this an RWS clone, and when I use these cards, I find myself seeing things differently than I expected. Like, this Seven of Wands is very interesting. Is the sitting figure the Seven of Wands, or is this guy who seems to be holding them back? There's just lots of room for personal interpretation and lots of room for taking a close look at these images and seeing what you see. And it might not be what you expected to see. So this is the Joker Tarot, my Hanged Man. The Death deck, I finally found a bag to put it in. Tarot of the Drowning World. It's a very unique Marseille deck, but with the majors, and we'll get to them eventually. I hope. All of these images, okay, here we go. This is one of the extra cards. There we go. There's a Lover's card, the Fool. Is that right? No, that's not the Fool. That's another extra card. Here is the Wheel of Fortune. These people are depicted as drowned or drowning people. And so it was my obvious choice. A deck that captures that energy. Let's see, we got, here's the Hermit. It's a really beautiful deck. I have to admit, I haven't played with it much. I haven't used it much. But I did find it a bag because the tuck box wasn't the greatest ever. And I do want to work with it. I just need to figure out how. If you've got this deck in your collection, let me know how you use it. I would love to hear. Now, my Temperance deck is the Herbal Tarot. And the reason it's the Temperance deck is I would not have bought this if it were just the people on a landscape. I also would not have bought it if it was just the plants and flowers on a landscape. But because it has a combination of plants and people, I found that really charming, and it made me want this deck. As a side note, I love learning about each of these different plants because I am allergic to many green things, so I don't know a whole lot about them, but I have enjoyed learning more. So this is my Temperance deck, and it is the Herbal Tarot. My Devil deck. My Devil deck is Dark Reflections. This deck shows, the images on this deck all show the reverse meaning, the shadow meaning, and that feels perfect for the Devil. Here's the poor Seven of Wands who is surrendering. The Five of Cups is like, you know what? I'm gonna fill up these. I've got a bunch of cups here. I'm gonna fill them up. And that's the cool thing about it too. I find this deck truly interesting and unique. I don't have one like it, and I really appreciate it. This one hits though. Boy, does this one hit. Ouch. Let's not get the Ten of Swords on top. This is the Dark Reflections Tarot, and it is my Devil deck. If we can get it to zoom in here. I had a hard time choosing the tower, but in the end I went with the Philarkos Tarot. It's largely because of the way these cards refuse to let you put a conventional meaning on them. Three of Wings. What is happening here? If you want to bring a conventional perspective to it, you're not going to find it here. At least I haven't. The suits are renamed. Trial is a very interesting way to depict what's going on in these cards and what's going on when you try to read with them. The majors and the courts are, but there's a different style altogether to the minors, which also kind of shakes you up a little bit. And that's why in the end, this was my choice. And I do love it. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy this deck quite a bit. But it's not an easy one. And that is the Philarcos Tarot, which is my tower deck. Okay, my star deck. I found out that Marine's dog died recently, and I'm very sorry about that. Hugs go out to her. I wish her much comfort and love. Last year, I lost my first dog ever, my beloved Cupid, and I've been grieving a lot. I've had a hard time. January got pretty rough. So I pulled out the Arcana deck. And I asked if Cupid had a message for me. And this was the card I pulled. I have 3 dog decks. There's death right under it. I have 3 dog decks, and I enjoy them all. I have probably used my magical dog ones a little bit more. But this deck is never going to leave my possession. It brought me hope at a time when I really needed it. Even if I'm not in the mood to do a reading, but I just want to look at, oh gee, this looks a lot like my Cupid. And it's the Sun card. Even if I'm not in the mood to do a reading, but just would like to look at some pictures that make me smile, this is a deck that I can use for that. This is the Arcana Tarot, and it is my star deck. I chose the Sleepwalker Tarot for the moon because, first of all of the figures have their eyes closed. And I think that's quite clever. I do feel like this is a good deck to use when you want to get some insight into your dreams. When I did a reading with this deck too, the card that I flipped over for, like, what kind of readings would it be able to help me with, and it was the moon. So yeah, that's definitely unique. Flipping through this makes me want to use it again. It's been a while. This is the Sleepwalker Tarot. It was gilded. It's got kind of an orangey. There's the backs. I'm very sorry I've been inconsistent in showing those. This is my moon deck. Now for my sun deck. Already laughing and I haven't even gotten it out yet. It just makes me really happy. It's so cute. It's a deck about a bunny and their friends, but I'm sorry, no matter how much they say this is a bunny, this is a white poodle. So that is how I see this animal, and I will keep on doing my thing But look at these images. Like, they are so adorable. I just can't get over it. I did a walkthrough of this deck. I will link that so you can check it out. I love how there's a different little creature in each of the different suits. That's quite enjoyable. This still cracks me up. Help! So that is why this is my sun deck. And I haven't even had it that long, but I love it to bits. Okay, Judgment. My Judgment deck is the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum. I got this last year and it changed my life. Not to overstate it or anything, but I don't know how to express it. Like, the cards felt alive in my hands, and when I shuffled them, it shuffled perfectly, and that doesn't happen for me. I would look at the cards and understand them in ways that I really hadn't before. And I wasn't expecting that. There were a number of cards that I really loved, and that was why I got this deck, but I wasn't expecting to feel an awakening. Like, I don't even care that when I did a deck interview with this deck and asked to describe itself, it gave me the Seven of Swords. Like, normally I'd be pretty put off by that. But this time I was like, oh, okay. All right. Okay, I gotta stop. This is my Judgment deck, and it is Tarot of the Holy Spectrum. The backs. Black, and so are the sides. My World is another deck that I need to explain. First, you need to know that I was an English major. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in English. That's another thing that changed my life. In college, I really fell in love with Shakespeare. This is the Shakespeare Oracle. I'm very sorry that it's out of print. I try not to show out of print ones too often because I know that's frustrating, but this really is my World deck. Every emotion that we feel, love, joy, pain, grief, anger, hope, happiness, sorrow, all of those emotions are in Shakespeare's works. The major arcana and the courts are scenic, while the minors are Marseille with quotes from the plays. I get very nostalgic when I see this deck. I really enjoy using it, but more importantly for this tag, I do feel like words and plays and language really does epitomize the world energy for me. So that is why I choose the Shakespeare Oracle as my World deck. Thank you so much if you made it through. I really liked this tag and wanted to participate. So thank you again, Maureen, for having this tag and for sharing your lovely channel with us. She is at The Waves of Your Soul, so please check out her videos. I'll be back again soon with another video. Until then, remember to reach for the star.